Welcome to the Dark Nexus podcast. Today, chapter 52 signifies a different kind of turning point for us. We have been broadcasting the Dark Nexus podcast for a year. That's right. If you've been with us for the beginning, we've spent a year together telling this story, and we've got many years worth of story to come. We're thrilled that you've been with us, and we're super excited that this has been going for this long, and it looks like we'll be together, despite the fact that sometimes characters don't make it. Today I'm asking that if you have been a follower of the podcast for that long, that you share it with someone new this week. Tell someone, hey, I've been listening to this podcast for this past year, and everyone should be listening to it, because everyone should, frankly. I mean, if you don't help spread the name Jamandor, who will?
Welcome back to Dark Nexus. Tonight, it's Act 2, Chapter 52. Okay, last several sessions were very heavy, but I am glad that we took time to take time with all the stuff that we did. That said, though, I am glad to be with you all here today and to dive back into the playing the game part of what we're doing here instead of just weeping and feeling emotions. So it's late afternoon on the 6th of Neth. Was this day 14, Katie? Is it right?
Is.
Let's call it 4 o'clock. We didn't get to bed until close to 1. We shared some dreams with Jamandor. And then we spent the late morning, early afternoon, as the storm was passing over town, doing some therapy and some feet retraining below decks in the Star Stelae. And as the storm finally passed over and the town of Thrushmore got groggily to its feet after a rough night, there began to be some movement on the streets, though noticeably even less than yesterday, which is already down from the day before. Allard from the Sleepless Agency is on the ship now. He's the very tall, blonde guy of the gaggle of Cassadia's employees, the one that seems like he's probably the go-to tough amongst that group. As you can imagine, wildly hungover. He escorted Centalar Rui over so the chemist could look after Loic and the kids and the other folks that need some meds. I don't think we've met Rui in person yet. He's another halfling. I picture him as a very old school Tolkien-esque hobbit-looking dude.
Nice.
Like, not quite elderly, but past middle age, curly gray hair, long curly silver sideburns, huge beer belly, velvet vest like bursting over his belly, and a velvet tailcoat. Very dignified guy, but a really gentle manner with his patients.
And no shoes, with just a little bit of tufts of hair on his feet.
You'd have to have, yes, absolutely, barefoot and hairy-footed, and he's dealing with Loic and the kids.
Everyone must be seen to, and they'll be seen to in good time, I assure you. He's smoking a pipe, of course.
That's really healthy down below decks.
Yes. Allard is able to fill you in a little bit on the town's perspective of what happened last night, and it might be a little bit surprising. It's hard to pin down exactly where the boundaries were, like whether it was inside a triangle made by the Standing Stones or kind of like a circle created by their arcs. But most people in town, and of course you were just outside of the boundaries of town, most people actually blacked out and lost time during the phenomenon that you witnessed. In fact, many didn't even wake up until past midday, which might also explain why the town's a bit sluggish in getting moving today. The folks on the ship had to actually inform Allard about what they saw last night. It's probably Lynn and Din that informed him. And he also tells you that that freaky little artist bloke told us about the heap of corpses y'all left in the street. We got them all moved inside the chapel for now, so they won't disturb anyone, but they're in there for today if you still need them for anything. So you got a lot of options for what you can do today, and I wanna actually take a little bit of time here to talk through them and talk through some other stuff. There's a lot that happened while we were all reeling from Ray's death and this our second incredibly long combat day of the campaign. So let's talk through some of this stuff, both as players, characters. You've got all the NPCs and the backup characters on the Starling here if you want to include any of them. I've also got Allard here in case you want to get like the Sleepless Agency's perspective on anything or pass along any instructions to them and so forth. Got a little list I want to bring up here, but obviously throw anything else in that you want. There's 3 things on the top of my list, and they're all connected in one way or another. So I want to throw them on the table for you all to start working through in whatever order you want. Number 1, I'm interested to hear you talk through your understanding of this aborted or disrupted, however you want to think about it, this ritual that was going on. What do you believe happened or almost happened? Who do you think is doing it? Who do you think is running the show here? Who's the danger? Like what your current sense of the stakes for the town are. The second thing is, I'm interested in hearing you talk about what went down in part 1 of chapter 50, specifically the way those assassins were appearing, how they appeared, the specific behaviors they had, and what conclusions you might be drawing from all of that. Third, we had 2 psychometry visions last time. Both were pretty simple on their surface and even a bit similar, but there was information embedded in those very simple conversations, and I want to make sure that things aren't getting lost in the shuffle as we were all crying and dealing with Ray. Because both of those scenes seem to have happened only a matter of weeks ago. So those are the things I want to throw on the table, and I'm interested in, again, hearing you all talk through what you understand. I'm here to answer any questions, and I'm, of course, going to be poking and probing just so I can kind of know where you're at and what you think is going on and what you want to do about it.
Grip is, I'm trying to... It's actually easy because in this moment I feel in tune with Grip in terms of what he understands and what Robert understands seem to be lining up, which is not much. Don't understand much. He knows that he has this connection to the fort, that there's this his lieutenant is apparently running things, so he's drawn to that, but he also can tell that none of that shit matters. Like, he knows that there is something bigger happening that is so far beyond his grasp. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't... So, like, he has this inclination to, like, well, we should go to the fort because I need to figure out what the fuck's going on in the town. But ultimately, the town... It's all a blip. And, like he's starting to wrap his head around the smallness of the here and now versus... I mean, and that feeds into the assassins, and who's calling the shots. He just, we killed the guy that was calling the shots in Act 1, and he could wrap his head around that. Like, we were enclosed in this place, and
he was kind of keeping you there, essentially.
Yeah. Right, and so we get out. We have to get out, and so now Grip does honestly not know what to do next. And Robert thinks Iris Hill, metagaming wise, is probably an end game type of place. So I don't know if I want to go there right now. But
well, let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
So you brought up Grip has this existing connection to Fort Hill Course and his lieutenant Berwin Kessel, who seems to be holed up in there. Who else does Grip know is also inside the fort?
I don't.
Great.
I don't know.
Anyone else remember?
No.
The scum are inside the fort.
Right. Okay.
Because that's what and this is something we were talking about on the way here today.
Yeah.
It's like there was a connection to the scum and the fort. How that relates to the harvest, I don't know. Now that the harvest has failed, as far as we know, so maybe that is a reason to maybe put the fort high on our list of where to go next.
I certainly think before tonight, there may not have been too much reason to think anything there may have been reason to reasonably believe the scum are something the town is dealing with. Also other stuff. But as of last
But
night...
once it's like the Great Harvest, you're like, oh, no. The whatever it is, Ariadne is in cahoots with the scum to create this ritual to transport this town interchangeably with Carcosa.
And somehow the scum are a piece of this,
Yes.
as evidenced by last night.
Absolutely.
So I think that might be the thing that Grip might latch onto based on having lived through it, of like, yes, the fort may have seemed like a side quest at one point, but I would say it might not seem so much like a side quest at this moment, knowing that that's one of their bases of operation.
And just to interject for Dabwick's sake, because all of the nuances of relationships and locations within the town and what it means for all of you is really different. So I think Dabwick would be along the same lines. Like, if you know that there's other scum elsewhere, I know the scum attacked us, and if
Attacked you personally,
attacked me personally,
Yeah.
attacked my people, and you're going to go kill more scum that are connected to this other thing that's happening with the city, I'm on board. The rest of, like, what's happening on the Iris Hill, I don't have a connection to.
Yeah,
Sure,
right.
But if I clean out the scum, that will help protect this city.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Maybe, cure the city of some of
the scum.
Yeah, the scum that's infected. Yeah.
Scum infection.
The people who were surrounding the Stella on Gladiolus Hill,
Yeah.
was that people or was it scum?
So there were many of them, probably more than a dozen. There may have been scum in and amongst them, but you weren't noticing the preponderance of them being hunchbacked and like loping along. They seemed to be people.
So there are people involved in the Great Harvest as well.
That, yes.
What is the connection, from what we know so far, if there is one, between the Great Harvest and Jamandur?
Don't ask Dabwick.
No.
Yeah, no.
She will definitely not ask Dabwick.
Based on the
The Great
information...
Harvest sounds like what Jamandur's endgame is.
Yeah.
But I had attached it to the scum that we fought in the house.
Uh-huh.
Are we able to make a
Is there-
religion check on that?
We have made checks on Jamandur and the Great Harvest.
Okay.
They were made by Ray. I will say this. One of the things that Ray would have shared in his downloading of information about Jamandur, I don't remember if I probably did say this, but basically, Jamandur is deeply connected to Hastur and Carcosa.
Yep.
One of Jamandur's reasons for being is to drag people and worlds to Carcosa. You would not think of Jamandur being the only means that Hastur and or Carcosa have of bringing things and stuff there. That Jamandur may be one tool among many. So I don't think you would connect Jamandur specifically with the scum. You might start to go like, okay. There's now...
What's clear is that Hastur has its sights on this world.
Yep.
And whatever the fuck it takes to get us there, he will take advantage of.
I think that's a very reasonable conclusion to be coming to.
I mean, the one thing that Roni is thinking is that there can't be too many people infected with Jamandur, because if there were, it would be too if there were, especially if there were people that were in power. All they'd have to do is walk around the town, shouting, whispering it in someone's ear, walk by and be like, "It's a good day today, Jamandur. Hey, how you doing, Like literally, you could do that and the whole town would be infected very quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like if there was something like that, it's either not here anymore,
And
or
like,
it
are
was
there
us.
witting accomplices to that? Like we know it is with us, and we are like we don't want to say it,
And we suspect
but
that
are there
it used to be with us.
people that have that knowledge, but that want to propagate it? Like, is that a thing? And how do you,
Jane,
Jane? Yeah,
who was clearly insane.
Yeah, the information that you had and the information you sort of gleaned from that first dream you shared with Jamandur is like this line of how much to spread the infection seems to be one that this cult deals with on every world. That kind of like you're saying, Johnny, like if you get to the point where you have enough people infected, you win. But if you start too rapidly and enough people can get everybody who knows this killed,
then they're just
then it's just over.
everybody gets wiped out.
Exactly. So I think that the cult, those that aren't insane, or maybe Jane was simply doing exactly what those cult members do, which is in an isolated situation
Yeah.
where she knows it would cause a great deal of harm, but would not result in a shitstorm of public attention, start to spread the seed.
Or thinks like, oh, I'm about to get killed.
Exactly.
If I'm about to get killed, the last thing I'm going to at least replace me.
And you also, the conversation with Jane before the fight started between Jane and Roni was pretty short, but it was also clear that you had known each other before all this,
Yep.
and she seemed surprised that you were behaving differently. So maybe she just thought she was reminding you of what you already knew.
Yeah, which is, I think we think that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we think that we were already in on it.
Yeah.
I wanted to say the attacks by the assassins, I think there was like two groups. I think there was Reese, and then I think those other three. I don't know that those other three and Reese were necessarily connected. They might have been connected.
But they did stall the amount of time that she needed to execute that attack.
They did.
And they all were, if this got lost in the shuffle, I'll just bring this up, all of them were not only had holy symbols of Hastur, the yellow sign.
So she had the symbol too.
All of them were wearing them openly, and all of them that the ones that came out of the walls, out of the murals, were clutching them. Reese also had one, had it openly displayed. I think Roni would, even at that moment it felt like two different things. I think Roni would
So
put that together.
so then she was like the head of the hit squad. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the different thing was the Eldritch projection, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That may have been the wild card in what happened in that
Felt
scenario.
like Reese and the projection were in cahoots. for
Because
want
they
of a better
arrived at the
term,
same
because they arrived
time.
at the same
But
time, but
no.
I think Reese was invisibly waiting for the others to distract us long enough that she could kill Ray.
And you would also process, because your characters were on the street that night, everybody was in their houses and locked up, and the only place where noise was going on was like the Countess may have been drawn to the noise. If she'd gone another way, she might have been drawn to the ship.
But yeah, so that's the thing that I wonder about is like, are we just like those scum did like that big attack on the ship? Were there multiple attacks like that at other places in the city that we're not aware of yet?
Good question.
Yeah, because
I think so. Allard being there they have not yet, because we talked a little bit last week. You might have an interest in going to see the Standing Stones. Let's say they have not yet gone up to the Standing Stones. They don't really know the tie-ins so much because they were also blacked out when this was happening. But there was no other evidence of a mass assault in the streets.
There wasn't.
Besides the ones you were
would it
all
have been
involved with.
reasonable to ask Stasi and Barnabas to go and gather information during those 8 hours we were all in therapy or training or whatever we were doing?
well, I mean, that's also sending them away from the ship where they're.
In a storm. Yeah, I think maybe
during
not.
the
Maybe
day.
not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But that, I think, let's keep that as an option
Stasi
going forward.
is,
If we're like, hey, let's send the
Silas-
backups to do this diplomacy check.
Oh,
sure.
If Stasi can get a look at the Eldritch projection, she might be able to tell us a lot more about it.
Than anybody else has so far. Yeah.
Speaking of backups and our unloading of some of the stuff that we had in the bag of holding and the
Yeah.
handy haversack, I want to make sure that like all of our backup buddies have any extra armor that we had.
Yeah.
That like weapons and stuff have been distributed so that other people have options of stuff to use.
Yeah, and so like Robert, we were talking about this Masterwork Silver Dagger that Grip might have in the bag of holding as a backup in case of an extreme circumstance. Maybe that actually goes to Barnabas or whatever. We can figure that out between weeks. But I think, so Johnny, we'll consider like anything
Stasi is
useful
really
to the
good
group.
with daggers.
Oh, yes, actually, Stasi. But she also has gear. Barnabas has nothing! He has a saber. So, the assassins came out of the walls,
Yeah, they have a way of
clutching these
teleporting.
holy symbols. When the first assassin whispered go, it was after very specifically grabbing the symbol of Hastur and saying it. Something's going on with those symbols. and what you experienced that night.
But
Did
don't.
we take them?
We did.
Yeah, you have them.
But they don't register as magic, do they?
They do not radiate any magic.
But were they radiating magic?
Unknown.
Do holy symbols radiate magic
During the fight, you don't
generally?
know.
But I mean, like if something had been cast on them, like would that have still been there, or would it have slowly bled away based on how long?
I'll say, whoever was detecting magic was Dabwick, I think.
Yeah.
No trace of any lingering auras of magic that you
Do
noticed.
holy symbols normally radiate magic?
No,
But they are divine focus forest spells.
correct. They are used in magic, but you would, yeah. So
Can I make a spellcraft check?
I don't think
or-
we even need to. I'll just say, yeah, probably something was being cast that targeted those holy symbols, not the holy symbols doing something. So something from somewhere else was
Some divine spell is probably
Temporarily.
at work in terms of making people walk out of these paintings.
Yeah, quite possibly. You might just not have quite enough information yet, but
All
you're
right.
close. You're close. You could even find out today. I'll just say that.
There you go.
How specifically? Tell us detailed instructions on how to.
So the psychometry visions. What did we learn out of those?
Melisande has a lot more power than I had thought
Yeah.
that she did.
Yeah,
Because she's like equal footing with everybody else.
yeah.
And is she her own thing, or is she dancing to someone else's commands?
Or is she really Ariadne? That's come
Or is
back.
she really
like
Ariadne?
a holding of Ariadne.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that sounds plausible.
So when I think who was it? Was it Stasi and Winter and Omari went to the estate the day that they got here? They did end up talking to Melisande, and Melisande was in full-on boss mode and was saying basically, I do not acknowledge the authority of
Which sure
Uslav."
sounds like something like that Ariadne might say.
Quite possibly.
Or maybe somebody who's an underling to Ariadne.
But I think, you would also, because it just, again, happened a matter of hours ago, the hag's words about
She took my...
Ariadne.
Oh, yeah.
Not, being here but not being here, being close but being far, that
That's why I go like maybe she's possessed at times, or
Right.
like has something like that where it's like she's being ridden
but not.
but not
Physically,
truly
yeah,
there
right,
kind of thing,
right.
but like speaks with her voice. So I don't know. Sometimes I don't know.
But you definitely would have got a sense that Melisand's position in that household is not simply she's the housekeeper.
No.
Position of great authority seems to see herself as an equal or a greater than the rest of you.
By housekeeper you mean someone who owns this house.
Right. She is now.
Mrs. Danvers. That's the name I was trying to remember last time.
Right.
God damn it. The interesting part of one of the interesting parts of those psychometry readings for me was Tima saying, if I don't make it back, and Gulliver and Braden do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could mean anything, but the way I heard it the first time was they knew they were going somewhere. And I think I voiced this a while ago, that I had an inkling that maybe the loss of their memory was a deliberate act to try to still whatever is going on with Jamandor. And that maybe that was what they were trying to cure by going to Briarstone. I think they were probably betrayed by Lowell's and whatever they thought they were doing. That's my theory. But Tima thought they would come back.
Ray said almost exactly the same thing to
Yeah.
Melisande. If something happens and I don't come back, or I come back changed or wrong, then kill them all.
How long? Remind me. How long was it between
Between those two
us?
scenes,
No, between us getting committed and the earthquake.
2 days. Party was committed at Briarstone on 15 Lamashan, and the earthquake happened on the 17th, and then you woke up on the 24th.
Which makes sense because like we get in, we get processed and stuff. what's her name?
With showers and sleeping.
And we were we were
what's her name? Gets
catatonic.
the Book of Nights and like reads through it, and it's like, okay, I understand this thing. I've studied it.
I'm going to do it
I'm
tomorrow.
going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
We were catatonic when we were checked in.
So like,
Yeah, and I think the records described basically, as long as you were sort of directed, your bodies would kind of go on autopilot. Like you could walk on your own accord, you just
You're in
couldn't
a
make it
fugue.
show. Yes, you're in a fugue.
So we tried something, and we got double crossed. At least all four of us.
Well, at least we know that Tima and Ray were going to something voluntarily.
Yes, and Ray talked about obviously the Count was going to these things as well. Ray said the Count doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no clue what we're into here. He mentioned specifically the idol and the lake that it can easily get a sense of like a quest or quests or travel or some kind of thing that they seem to have all been doing together and all have been paranoid that the others were all going to betray them as part of what was happening.
I mean,
And that Melisson knew in general terms what you were doing, but wasn't in on the specifics, which kind of seemed to be maybe this is the way of that house. Everybody's cooking on their own little ways to whatever. Get to Carcosa, bring Carcosa here, do their thing, connect with Hastur, connect with Jean, who knows. But that everybody was plotting and planning. And we even found in that the letter...
Yeah, that there was like some sort of cat and mouse thing between
the two of you.
Grip and I.
And that apparently
Roni.
Roni found out that Ray had put a hit on the rest of the party, which could be with Melisson or it could be some other hit, unknown yet.
A little crunchy stuff about Ray that came out in the psychometry reading. We saw Ray without his rotting status, his withering status, which is part of the Oracle class's mystery. Ray's withering was part of his life-giving power. So he didn't have that before whatever happened brought us.
He was not an oracle.
He was not an oracle
A
yet.
matter of weeks ago.
And in the psychometry reading, he speaks of communing with the Prince in Chains.
It's a very
Oh,
cleric-y thing to do.
knowledge religion? Anybody has that anymore?
I can always roll it. Oh man!
Player Katie has it.
Wow, I rolled
Player Polly has it too.
I got a 5 on that.
Knowing clerics can commune is surely a DC 10. Anybody can make it check, right?
Oh, sure. So let me say this. I think what I was looking to have revealed here, which didn't quite get revealed, but I'll come at it sideways and not reveal the thing, but still tell you a thing.
I got a 9.
Yes, obviously.
We're being rewarded for falling forward.
Yes.
And in some way, it's going to totally screw us.
It's no fun if information doesn't come out, right?
Yeah.
So here's what we know. Ray was not an oracle a matter of weeks ago, but he was certainly a divine spellcaster capable of casting a 5th level spell. And that as we think back to the various nomikers that Ray gave Zan-Ku-Than way back in chapter 2 or whatever, the Prince in Chains was not one of them. We know Zan-Ku-Than as the Midnight Lord, the Prince of Pain, that whatever the Prince in Chains is, that may not actually be communing with the god. Maybe it could be some servant of Zan-Ku-Than, you don't know, but with the 5, Johnny, they don't recognize that specific name.
Oh, could he have been like a sorcerer communing with like an extra dimensional,
Could be.
extraplanar creature?
Could very well be.
Because we don't necessarily, I don't specifically remember Ray as having a particularly high wisdom or willpower.
Correct.
So like he was very charismatic, but
Very charismatic.
so
If it matters,
she saw him flying, which is totally something that a sorcerer would do.
It is a thing that some sorcerers have been known to do.
if it was a DC 10 thing you were looking at, I rolled an 11 with my -1. That makes a 10, just
No.
for a straight intelligence check.
No.
Okay.
I would love to give it to Grip, but no. But we did also, speaking of things that we learned, and Paul hasn't had a chance to talk about this yet, we learned for fact that Ray, because of the blood reading, Ray was drawing divine power from Shaylin.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Right.
The whole time. She was actually the one giving him healing power.
Even after he burned up his headband.
Apparently so.
It takes more than one transgression to
Yes.
sever a connection with a god who's chosen you.
And, you know, the connection of, we've talked about this, you know, when Ray was alive, the connection of oracle to deity is different than cleric to deity.
Right. It's
Like
not
sh-
a worshipful relationship, a quid pro quo relationship, right?
Yeah. Shaylin decided that she wanted Ray to have power.
Zoom.
And so Ray Kazjum.
And then that
So
just
much
happens. It doesn't get cut off because you broke the rules.
She can probably cut it off if she wants to, but she didn't.
Regardless of what that phylactery was doing.
And me,
Certainly she could see the circumstances we were operating under.
I was curious
an
though about the
omniscient
like,
being.
do you keep the holy symbol of Zon-Kuthon? Like then that's where I think maybe things would have gotten complicated. But also we know that Shaylin feels a great
Yeah.
sense of mercy and compassion for Zon-Kuthon.
Yeah.
They were very close. So let's talk about what options we do have available to us today. We've already mentioned Iris Hill and Fort Hale Course.
There's also the Wailing House.
There's the Wailing House. We've talked about the Standing Stones. Anything else on anybody's radar, or you want to pick some of those apart and figure out which order you want to take them in?
Dora's very into information gathering, and it feels like the strongest options for information gathering at this moment are the Stella, where the people were gathering. We know that the ones on Gladios Hill, I think they ran like towards Highmart. Is that right?
They were running basically in
Just
the
like
direction of the
getaway.
fort.
Oh, okay. And the fort feels like a hub for the scum. We know we can handle scum. Maybe not in droves, but
Well, I mean, you handled
they
a
did on
massive
the-
drove of them the other day.
not us.
No.
Well, Dabwick. And there might be information about the other things that are going on if we can sort of free up Fort Helcourse, which also feels like if we can take that a better base of operations for the party than a ship on the water with a bunch of people we have to.
Yeah, and maybe
look
all
out
those
for.
people, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that, you know, if it hasn't been made crystal clear, a lot of so much of this outrage at Kessel is like,
Yeah.
we could get almost the entire town up
In
inside.
there,
That's
yeah.
what these
Why
forts and these
haven't
times
they?
are designed to do. to
That's what
protect the whole
Dora
town.
wants to know. Why hasn't she done that?
Yeah.
She's
Because
either
it's
in
filled
cahoots with
scum.
them.
It's chock full of scum.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
then let's go.
So maybe
Empty it
swing
out.
by
Or she's
Gladiolus.
Or she's dead, or she's working with them, or you know, whatever. But like, Dora's pretty fixated on the fort right now.
So maybe swing by Gladiolus Hill, see if there's anything to be seen there, and then move
Yeah.
up to the fort.
Yeah,
from
if
there.
you want to see the stones, you could pass. I mean, Crocus
Yeah.
is right where you are, basically. Just have to go up the hill.
Yeah.
You could pass Crocus, you could pass Gladiolus, and you could get up to the.
But Crocus is the one that failed to activate, thus aborting the ritual that tried to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other, the
But
third,
you know-
the
you do
third
know
one
a-
was where
a-
there does not appear to be a Stella at all.
Exactly.
Just Iris Hill, which maybe is built up around the Stella or something.
Yeah, I think
It's like in the bowels of it
Yeah.
perhaps the entire mansion was built atop it.
to hide the
Sounds
Stella.
like Poltergeist.
But for the fort, like, how are we going to get in there? It's a fort.
Well, we gotta scout it out.
All right.
Yeah, the only way you know right now is the long underwater tunnel that the scum are using.
Yeah. Which
Before we
Great
go on this adventure, during the downtime, is it possible for Dabwick to make to take 20 on a sense motive check towards Roni?
To take 20? No, there's consequences. You have to roll this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
What are you interested in
I'm
sussing out?
really only trying to see something's odd. Are we okay?
Gryffindor are like, yeah, why wouldn't you be okay? So everything seems great.
Dabwick is very sensitive to energy.
I'm very sensitive, and I don't know. It's just something. I'm just gonna take a guess. Oh shit!
Johnny wants this to go on forever.
I don't want
And
it to
now
go on
it
forever. I
will.
just want it to be. Although I find it fascinating that you all are like, Roni's behavior
have
is
no-
totally normal.
We have no clue.
I was trying to
We
lead
don't
this
know
into
you
doing a
that
lesser
well.
restoration on him.
Oh,
Oh,
physically Dabwick knows what's going on. If you want to remove that last point of charisma damage from Roni, absolutely.
Well,
but you don't understand that the level of his paranoia. Yet.
No, because I rolled a natural 1.
Oh, here we
That
go.
sense motive check, so
fantastic.
nothing known there. But I'm going to cast a Lester Restoration on you, my friend.
Hey, friend, I really appreciate you wanting to help me out like that. That is very kind of you. But I think, as a party, we should probably save that resource for if we get into a really bad fix. Right, Dora? I mean, what if Grip gets some of his strength sucked out? We really need him. Or what if you lost some of your intelligence?
Okay, fair enough. What do you think, Dabs?
Right now, I'll heal in a day or so. I'll be fine.
All right. It's your choice.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the party.
Love it.
I have no.
Can Dora make a sense
I
motive
see
check
no
now?
flaw in
Because
that.
that was
That's,
like
Sure.
very out of character.
I mean, how low could you roll? What could happen here? See.
Well,
I got a natural 20.
Oh.
So 29.
Okay, something's up.
Yeah.
You because sense motive is not a supernatural ability.
Right.
I think Dora would now clock something is a little. Maybe it's worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah.
But she does not know the nature of his madness yet.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's now game reason
I
for.
don't have an obvious one. I'm not stroking the fox.
No.
I mean, it's not like you weren't without your paranoias to begin with.
That's
She will
Absolutely.
pull Grip
True.
aside
just say.
and mention it.
Okay.
Keep an eye on Rooney. There's something odd about his interaction with Dabwick. I don't think it's quite right.
All right. I'm usually very observant about such things. So I'll be sure to keep my fucking eye on him, I
You have been
suppose.
known to find files that no one else could find. It's so true, my friend.
That's true, I suppose. That's
You have
right.
your moments.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Here we go.
so funny.
So as we head back into town, is Dabwick appearing as themselves, or is Dabwick going as a small human or
child.
Yeah, let's remember, Dabwick has access to. It's not a hat of disguise, but it may as well be.
Right, right.
Take any form of. How is it worded there, Paul?
This cap of human guise, this worn leather cap allows the wearer to alter their appearance at will as a disguise self-spell, except they can only appear as a plain-dressed small human child, adult halfling, or adult gnome, such as a peasant, blacksmith, or shopkeeper. So,
Good to know it's an option.
yeah.
I guess nobody in town really knows Dabs beyond us.
Yes.
So Dabwick would have gone with Skywin in the early couple of days through town talking to folks, but it's been quite some time
Maybe
now.
something
Dabwick
that
could show up as Skywin. Could be walking around looking like.
You can't take a specific appearance with
okay,
him.
got it.
But it might be something that could help
Somebody else.
someone else who is recognized frequently as we've moved through town.
I don't fucking care who knows who I am or not. If that's what you're getting at.
It was. But good to know.
It's an option.
Well,
Right now, Dabwick sees no reason to hide themselves.
Great. All right.
Nor do I.
Dora, I have on my sheet, and I want to make sure I give you at least one of these because you should have it. Because it would be very helpful if you run into another circumstance where you can't do much and you
Yet
need to
another.
get away.
Is it marbles? It's marbles, right?
I have 3 potions of Vanish, and I think that you should take probably 2 of them because you are Trey Squishy.
I will, if you don't mind.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to take 2 of
One
those
round,
off.
though?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It only works for one round. You would probably put together that the reason why these rogues were holding them in their hand was so that if they had to use them, they wouldn't have to waste the entire turn getting it out and drinking
Yeah,
it, by
yeah,
which
yeah.
point it's useless. So, yeah,
But you could oftentimes, if we go into some situation, have one
100%.
out and
yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
So
One round of not being seen could be the difference.
Yeah. Well, if you can just simply get out of sight.
and get out of the way.
Yeah.
So that was my thought.
Love it. Oh,
Thank you.
There was a Tanglefoot bag floating
I have
around
that.
too. You have that? Okay. Let me see. There was something else I wanted to bring up. Oh, we have a new spellcasting element to add into the mix here with Dabwick. So Dora is a spontaneous caster.
Yes.
In order to regain her spells, Dora has to sleep for 8 solid hours.
Yes.
And then she gets all of her slots back and can use her power to cast any combination of spells that she knows. Dabwick is more like Roni in that Dabwick has to prepare a very specific list of spells, and those are the only ones that are available to them that day. But Dabwick, as an urban druid, needs to meditate for 1 hour around dusk every day to regain their spells. So sleep has nothing to do with it, but there is going to be this hour period in the early evening every night where Dabwick is going to have to stop and do this if they want to get their spells
All
back
right.
for the day. So in some cases it might be useful because Dabwick will always be full up every night.
Yeah.
But
But wait, so did that mean he doesn't have any spells from, because he used all the spells from last night, because it's not dusk yet, right?
He's got to
Yeah.
re-prepare at dusk.
yeah, gotta re-prepare at dusk.
Do you
Which
have-
and we're starting off now. At this point we've been talking, so it's now about 4:30. So actually,
Getting there. It's
it's getting there.
late fall.
Dabs could probably meditate now, and you'd be starting like just
Do you
after
have
nightfall.
some
In which
druids-
case, I could use that lesser restoration now
Oh.
and then meditate and get it back.
Oh yeah.
Well, everyone's
So
got
then it wouldn't be a
sanity
waste
damage,
of,
too.
Oh, sanity
resources.
damage. Grip is sitting on 10 points of sanity damage.
Yes,
still.
that would
Oh.
be an excellent use of
Yeah.
lesser restoration that Roni apparently doesn't want.
Like I said, I think that, in this case, it would probably be really better if it went to Grip.
Does Dabwick have spells they can spontaneously cast by ditching another prepared spell?
Yes, I have domain spells.
Oh, so it's not like the summoning school or the cure school?
No, the way it works for Dabs is drop spells to cast their domain spell.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Because I think part of the Urban Druid
What is
thing...
the flavor of
like-
those spells?
great. It's Old Portal, Shield Other, Protection from Energy.
Great.
Shield, you should read Shield Other out, because it's an interesting
it's
one.
an interesting spell.
Yeah, Shield Other, that's, this spell wards the subject and creates a mystic connection between you and the subject, so that some of its wounds are transferred to you. Sound familiar?
Yep.
Subject gains a +1 deflection bonus to AC and a +1 resistance bonus to saves.
And then half the damage.
Oh yeah, and then half the damage from all wounds and attacks that deal it point damage. The amount of damage not taken by the water creature is taken by you.
Yeah, so a little bit of buffing for the other person, and then Dabs takes half the damage they take.
And you only have one domain?
Yes.
So since Roni refuses to be healed, do you want to give that lesser restoration to Grip before we head out?
Yes.
All right, give me whatever means you wish to determine 1 or 2 points.
Dora contemplates giving the Wand of Command to Maeve. But ultimately does not.
What?
She'd just
She thinks
enjoy
about
it
it, yes.
so much.
I mean, she already has Breton doing whatever she wants.
I know, but now she could have multiple people.
Reducing the subject's ability score cures 1d4, so that's 3 points.
It's 1d2 points of sanity damage. So you got on the high end of your four-sided, that's fine. So 2 points of sanity damage down.
Great.
Great.
Grip and Roni are tied at 8.
Oh boy.
All right, you want to have a sanity off? You want to brain wrestle? No, wait, I don't want to do that.
No, no, you do not want to do that. Okay, so then in the early period of night falling here, we leave the ship and head into town. It's our first night venture into town.
Dora will cast Mage Armor.
Done and done. Let's call it 5:30 when that starts.
And are we saying that I'm just, it's okay for me to
You are now fully prepared.
fully prepared spells?
Yep.
Great.
We make our way up to the top of Crocus Hill first, which is right there. At the top of the hill, you find the stone. The stone is doing more like what you saw the stone on Gladiolus Hill doing the other day. Rather than simply shining, it's actually very, very lightly glowing at this moment. And dead at its base is indeed the scum with no mohawk fin, who appeared to have essentially committed suicide by dropping on their trident while touching the stone. So you find the body of this scum like bleeding out, arms wrapped around the stone, and the stone lightly glowing.
So they had to bring sacrifices to the stone and the ship was so, let's see what's at the other one.
So Dabwick has not yet detected magic on these. Is that something Dabwick wishes to do, or you want to wait till you get to the other one?
Let's wait till we get to the other one.
Making our way through town, past the fish market, past the Sleepless Building, everything is locked up and dark now.
Or what time of day again?
It's 5:30
Okay.
p.m. You make your way up Gladiolus Hill for the first time to the stone atop there. Very different scene here. The stone is actually glowing. Not even faintly. It is visibly glowing. And there is a gaggle of corpses draped around its base. 4 people, all with their throats slit, and then it appears as though their blood had been smeared all over the stone itself. The stone, in like the little cracks where the last of the rain didn't wash it away, you can see evidence that blood had been liberally splattered on this stone.
Do we recognize any of the people?
You do. Cassadia Rents.
Oh.
Emin Gulston. There's a middle-aged human woman in white clerical robes, shoulder-length graying brown hair, sharp jaw, aquiline nose. Cholis Mavane, the priestess of the new chapel. And an older human man, probably in his late 50s, in fancy robes of state, like a judge's or a chief administrator's. You would very quickly put together this is Tillis Paget, the former magistrate of Thrushmoor. So 4 people ritually murdered around this now glowing stone. Cassadia, owner of the Sleepless Agency, former adventurer. Emin Gulston, owner of the Stain, former merchant marine captain. Trillis Mavane, the priestess of the new chapel, former adventurer. And Tillis Paget, magistrate of Thrushmoor, former army colonel.
So not just any bodies will do.
You need some people that got some juice to them.
It seems like at least at this particular stone, some sort of like
So maybe they were
personal
coming
juice was involved.
For Captain Skywind.
Could be.
Yeah.
Anybody have survival? Let's do that too. And then
Yeah.
Were those the only bodies that were there?
These are the only bodies that are here at this stone. Okay. Yes. And these are a combination of people. You would probably assume timeline-wise, Paget was kidnapped, quite some time ago, maybe near the beginning, because nobody has seen him ever since this started. Mavane disappeared after the earthquake, so more recently, and then
Cassadia Wren's just disappeared.
And Emin Gulston both of them just yesterday.
Emin was the Stain owner?
Yeah. What do we get for survival?
19.
24.
Oh, nice. So in the mud left over from the storm, the 2 of you are easily able to find evidence of, like I mentioned, somewhere between probably 8 and 15, like around a dozen other people up here. You would see
People or scum?
Well, you would guess. Dabs is guessing maybe there were 1 to 3 scum in that midst, and that the rest seemed to have been booted humanoids of a non-scum nature, indeterminable at this point. Except that one of I'll give this you had 24, did I recall? Yeah. So Dabs is probably gets a little fixated on the scum. Right, that's their chief concern at the moment. The threat they understand. Definitely more than one scum. And in fact, one of the scum seemed to be weirdly light, like the foot,
buoyant,
the same size as the other scum that were up there, but like as if their weight was that of a child, like their webbed feet were barely imprinting the earth. No reference for what that might mean other than like mass-wise. Something else was going on with this scum. Weird. Yeah, very weird. But we are now facing another standing stone, this one glowing.
Can we do perception checks around, see if anybody dropped anything?
Yes.
Or there's anything
Please do.
in the mud?
Let me know if you get anything interesting.
It's another 24 for Dabwick.
25 for Dora.
26 or 28 to find traps.
I rolled to see if I got a natural 20. I did not.
Roni has two thoughts. One, which is we should probably move these bodies, maybe take them back to the Sleepless Agency so
Yeah.
they're not just out.
Yeah.
And then my second thought is I'd forgotten we got that key off of Reese's body.
Yeah.
So we may want to go and just check out those bodies real quick and see if there was anything else that we might have missed in the very hurriedly sort of stripping them kind of thing.
So for these perception checks, 26 from Roni. Roni is able to, like Roni's eyes in the falling of the light here tonight, catch a little glint off down the side of the hill. And it is fairly easy to determine from the combo of these survival checks and perception checks that the path was directly back towards Fort Hill Course. They were not heading towards the High Mart. They were not heading towards Builder's Hall. They were heading right towards the fort. Roni finds a discarded yellow sign, a discarded holy symbol of Hastur. And Dora with her 25, so I'm picturing the story here, like Dora's now kind of keeping an eye on Roni. So like Dora's looking around, but also watching Roni, sees Roni see this thing. And after this information from Dabs, Dora would link the footprints of this weirdly light scum to this dropped holy symbol of Hastur. That whatever that thing was may have been the thing that let go of or left or dropped or lost track of or whatever this symbol of Hastur.
So it made them lighter when they dropped it? How much does it weigh?
No, the footprints were the same depth of impression before and after dropping the symbol. It's just that is the thing that left something behind.
The scum that we have fought, like, how big are they?
About human size.
And are they all kind of like beefy kind
Yes.
of thing?
Yeah.
So this could be somebody that was human size but wasn't.
I see what you're saying. Like maybe someone very wasted and thin.
Mm-hmm.
Dabwick would think that might not even account for what they're seeing here.
Feels like
This
magic.
This is like that much
It
lighter.
feels like magic. Like it weighs like a child, even though it's clearly the size of a full-grown adult scum.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, it does seem very, like, no logical explanation for this besides obviously something magical.
Or that it has hollow bird-like bones.
Yes. Maybe it's just the shell of a scum with
if
empty
someone-
air on the inside filled with yellow fog.
It smells like cake.
It smells like cake.
But like the footprints themselves are not like child-sized
No,
or anything.
no,
They're
no,
regular
they're
size.
Regular size.
Okay. Thank you.
Like an elf across the snow.
So, we have the symbol, we have the stone. We have not examined this particular stone, and we have not examined any stone for at least a character
The
level.
tracks.
Does this symbol have psychic significance?
No, it does not.
Oh.
Devoid. Empty.
As if somebody was
which is
disguised?
also odd, I imagine.
Weirdly empty. Weirdly empty for a religious icon, yes.
The tracks that you said unmistakably go back to the fort, like to front gate of the fort, or to...
You might have to cross the hill and try to follow them. You can just tell which direction they're heading when they left the top of the hill.
Gotcha.
Wait, there are all those missing children. What do we know about scum again? They don't reproduce.
Correct. They're just men. They're all men. And they can't reproduce.
So
How do
like
they make
once,
more scum?
how do they make more scum?
They don't.
So like once the scum are done, like they're just done.
Yeah, the Aboleths left.
X number of them, and now they're
just here.
slowly dwindling.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't die from natural causes.
Right.
They just
Right.
they just live forever.
I was trying to think about I know there's the whole thing of the missing children. If
The
like
transformation.
if they were like doing something with children and transforming them.
So there's no life finds a way miracle, like in Jurassic Park.
Well, I mean, this is a world of magic and rituals, but yeah, as far as you know, no.
All right.
Okay.
Can Dabwick cast Detect Magic on the Stella?
Yeah.
Oh.
Then give me a spellcraft check. So Dabwick has the same immediate sense of very intense auras, conjuration and transmutation washing off of this thing. Let's see if they can figure anything out about it.
I rolled a 5 on the die, and I probably failed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I think you're going to
That's
fit
an
in-
11.
You're going to fit into this party just fine.
Yeah.
Dabwick is as overwhelmed and confused by what they're witnessing as Ray was. Give me those of you that are, those of you that have it. So I think Dora and Roni, Knowledge Arcana.
Natural 20.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to connect a dot that Dora connects. So Dabwick talks about these auras of conjuration and transmutation. The Conjuration School does a lot of very separate things. One of the things the Conjuration School deals with is teleportation. And pondering this stone, knowing that it can be used perhaps in teleportation, pondering these people materializing in midair, seemingly out of Carcosa on the street below you, all clutching these symbols of Hastur. Dora is probably starting to put together that this may be the source of the magic that you witnessed the assassins using, and they were all doing it while holding or wearing these holy symbols.
Does it seem spent now that
It's glowing, so no, it does not
No.
seem spent.
So, like, if we had the symbols, is there any way that we could power them up so that we could teleport inside the fortress?
Do you want to put a holy symbol of Hastur on and touch the stone?
Not I, said Dabwick.
Johnny's still thinking.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Would that allow us to skip an entire book of the adventure if we were to maybe do that?
you know it might just take you to Carcosa?
I'm going to try it.
All right. So Roni puts on one of the unholy symbols of Hastur,
Had a great eye. Ships in the universe.
reaches out, touches the Star Stelae. At first, it's a very identical experience to the other day where,
It's like the buzzing.
yeah, it feels like electrically charged, although this one feels even more powerfully so, and you actually get like a jolt upon contact. I also mentioned that you were hearing faint and distant whispering, and you described it as being sort of like a radio, like on an old radio,
Yeah.
slightly off channel. It is no longer off channel. And Roni is flooded with an overwhelming flow of telepathic impressions and whispers. Give me your choice, Knowledge Arcana or Knowledge Religion check.
Oh, Knowledge Arcana. Oh, natural 1 for a 10.
And
It's overpowering.
And maybe this will, I need a will save as well to check your sanity.
Shocker. 18 plus 1 versus supernatural abilities or spell of aberrations, plus 2 if this is a charm effect.
Roni experiences the electric jolt, is just overwhelmed with a rush of telepathic whispering that he's just about to understand, and then the experience gets too much. Pull the hand off, realizing you can't make sense of it, and you get your hand off just in time to avoid taking any sanity damage at this time.
Go.
But mechanically, Johnny and now the party understands that while wearing one can make a Knowledge Arcana or a Religion check to learn something from these whispers.
I'll do it. We think it best.
I almost got something. It was close. It was real close.
Hand it over.
Here's one of the other 3.
What are all the things that you said you were not going to do this book? Read Chain of Knights, touch a standing stone, put on an unholy symbol of Hastur.
Lick the bathroom
I
floor.
never said I wouldn't
It's true.
put on an unholy symbol
I guess that's
of
true.
Hastur. I think it was implied.
But hey, you're a servant of Jamandor now.
Yeah. Gonna cast Burst of Insight too, if that's possible.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
already 3 spells down for the day. Okay. Dora puts the holy symbol on.
Touches the stone,
Touches the
feels
stone.
the jolt, hears the whispers. Give me
Get
that
a
Arcana
plus
check.
4 to this check. 32.
Sweet!
That's a big number.
All right.
Nice.
Give me your will save for sanity as well before I.
Does this happen simultaneously? Oh, it's just one. It's just one thing.
One
I chose intelligence. Ugh. Natural 1.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, you opened yourself up
I was
to it.
stunned, basically, so, like, from the spell. So.
2 points of sanity damage. Under your threshold, so you've managed to take, I think, sanity damage 3 times since becoming dormant, and you still haven't taken enough to lose your dormancy, which is great. Okay, so you're now at 5 points of sanity damage.
Yep.
Feeling a little unhinged there, but that does not manage to damage you enough to bring back the delusion. However, while being bombarded with a endless stream of strange images and distant whispers, Dora is able to understand how to use this artifact at its current level of activation.
Wow.
There are 2 powers right now that Dora knows can be done with these. First one is called City Stride. Anybody wearing an unholy symbol of Hastur can touch one of these, step into it, and step out of any wall within long range of any of the other stones in this town that are currently active, as if sort of kind of like a dimension door sort of thing. A mural of Carcosa will appear on any wall used for this manner of travel. This use expends 2 charges. So obviously these assassins were at one of these stones waiting for word, and then one at a time used this ability to step in and then step out onto the street right in front of you. Now, because of the way this works, you know you can land in a location that is within a certain distance as described by the person who's doing the ability from another stone, or another wall they can visualize that is within range of one of these stones. But of course, the typical dangers of doing any kind of teleportation when you don't know where you're going are that if you come up in a solid space, you're going to be taking a whole crap ton of damage and shunted somewhere who knows where. The other ability is called Sinister Whispers. This is fun. This has got a couple of different uses. So, if you're wearing an unholy symbol of Hastur, you can touch the stone and deliver a short whispered message, just like Dora's message spell, to anyone or everyone wearing unholy symbols of Hastur within long range of any of the other stones. They will all hear it, and they can all respond with a short message. This expends 1 charge. Alternatively, you can... That's sort of like sending mode. Receiving mode is you can wear an unholy symbol of Hastur, lay your hand on the stone, and anyone else wearing an unholy symbol of Hastur can whisper, and you can essentially turn on the receiver and pick up the message. So... Roni approaches the woman on the street. She says, go.
Yeah.
All of them are touching the stone in receive mode. They hear her say go because they're all wearing these symbols and touching the stone. And then one by one, they stepped through the stone to a location near to where she was. Wow. And then the last, those uses expend 1 charge. And there is a use of Sinister Whispers that is 2 charges. And that is if 2 people are touching different stones while wearing these holy symbols, they can expend 2 charges of each stone to communicate telepathically for a minute to each other. You would understand that if a stone is depleted of all of its charges, it becomes inactive and can't be used until it is somehow activated again through a ritual that you do not yet understand or comprehend. You understand that charges are replenished through ritual sacrifice. If a sentient living creature is killed in the name of Hastur while in contact with one of the Star Stelae, it gains a number of charges equal to 1 per hit die of the sacrificed victim. You know that this stone has 12 charges at the moment. So there's probably some combination of all of these high-level adventurers being sacrificed here gave it a certain number of charges. Whatever this botched ritual was probably used a whole bunch of those, and what's left is 12 after all of that mess.
And the assassins teleporting.
Yep.
And all those things.
Yeah.
If they came from this one or if they came from...
Yeah, hard to say.
Iris Hill.
Dora removes the holy symbol of Hastur.
So 2 charges to do the teleportation, 1 charge for the simple whisper uses, and 2 charge for the communication use.
So we could use this to teleport inside Fort Halicourse.
Yes.
You could, if you can picture a location.
Yeah,
yes.
if we can visualize it. Or we could also use it to teleport into Iris Hill,
We potentially could do that.
which someone, I think, has a pretty good visual reference of.
There are a number of rooms on that estate that Dora has seen with her own eyes in psychometry visions.
Yeah. And when I cast the spell.
Do we?
Oh,
Did
wow.
any
Yeah,
of
right,
the-
Katie. If you decide you want to do some of this, we should talk through some of your thought components because you could picture some of those locations too, because I do know where they all are. Okay.
Did any of the visions that you did of anything that Riptusk had, were any of them in Fort Halicourse, or were they all outside
I
on
don't
the
think
streets?
so.
No, they were all out in the streets. And now, having walked around the town for a few days, you would guess that probably down near the fish market, like somewhere in the cluster of houses in the center of town, like just north of the fish market on that map. You see where I'm? Yeah, like around, like probably somewhere
Yeah,
up in
yeah.
here. But unlike those visions of Ray's past, which were happening in an entirely different location, you do know that the stuff with Grip was happening here in Thrushmore. Okay. Yeah, DC 25 Arcana check to interpret those whispers, so not an easy check at this level. But yeah, you know what the Star Stelae can do at this particular level of activation. You do know that they are still not fully activated.
And also, anytime we touch it, we have to make a sanity save.
No.
No.
It's the sanity save was to understand the instructions of use. It was like to
Oh, okay.
read the instruction manual.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Just
so then
classic
just touching it and going in,
Cthulhu.
you're not necessarily
Reading the
losing
book
sanity
makes you
from
crazy.
that.
Right. You'll hear the whispers, but it'll be so quick that you won't be
Got it.
trying to parse them.
I think we should scout out Fort Hellcourse.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Continuing on over to the fort. Fun.
We have access to invisibility. Should we try to get a little closer
we
and
get
then
closer.
go invisible?
It's 3 minutes, so
I mean, that's still a pretty long chunk of time.
yes, I think we should use the invisibility to scout.
All right.
It's easy enough to make our way down Gladiolus Hill, back behind all of the shops at the High Mart, past a couple more farmsteads right there near the edge of town, make our way up this hill upon which sits Fort Halecourse. As you would probably imagine, the area is wooded, so there's lots of tree cover up until you get a couple hundred yards from the actual fort itself, which has then been completely cleared of all trees, so it's an open approach to the fort. The fort itself, the main area, is a walled fort about 20 feet high with 5 round towers and a central tower donjon reaching a height of about 40 feet. There's only one door in, a set of 10-foot high double doors on the south side of the building with the brass door knockers and a couple of spy holes. You see arrow slits all around. It's dark. It's dark. It's dark. But you can see the shapes of what looks to be 2 soldiers, like a couple of human-looking guys wearing leather armor with full face covering helmets, patrolling the walls of the fort with long bows in hand, and they are also clearly armed with long swords. Let me take you to a map.
You see Roni drink an extract, and then all of a sudden it seems as though he's able to move more easily in the darkness.
So I think at the moment we're still kind of in twilight. So there's dim light for everybody else. You can clearly make out these shapes and shadows, but since there's no lights anywhere inside the building, you can guess it's going to be very dark in there.
Dabba, can you see in the dark?
Nope.
So you're now at the very center bottom of this map. Why don't you take your tokens and walk around the outside of this building so you can get a sense of its shape? Because the line of sight is super fun on these maps, but it doesn't help you see the shape of things. So, again, the majority of the thing seems to be about 20 feet tall and seems to consist of a walkway around which these 2 guards are patrolling. So, like here to here to here to here to here. So you would guess the 2/3 of this structure is probably a tall walkway around an open courtyard. Based on where you're seeing those guards walk, it doesn't look like that's one huge, massive roofed space, but they're probably walking around an open space, which, you would know the construction of these kind of medieval forts. Like usually the whole center is open, so you can get the whole town in there in case of dire emergency. There's these 5 towers, which are clearly 2 very tall stories high, and you can see evidence of ballista atop of them. That was the western 2/3. The eastern third, the area over where I'm pinging here, you would guess is where the enclosed part of the structure is. There are some on the far eastern wall. There's this curved space that has a series of stained glass windows on it that are covered in bars, and a whole bunch of arrow slits into the first floor, indicating that there are rooms on the inside there. And then this back area over here, you see this little quadrant kind of in the top of the eastern third of this is this donjon. So this equally tall tower that extends up a couple of stories. And you can see that there is a wooden staircase, presumably going from the walkway the sentries are patrolling up to a top level of that you can visualize. Only one way in from the outside here, which are these double doors down on the bottom. So that's what you're able to easily determine from a distance, getting a check on it. And then I know y'all probably want to make some perception checks, see if you notice anything else.
I just want to make sure from outside we can see like an outside wall that's inside the part of the fort that's like up on the donjon.
You can see
like the staircase. There would be a wall there where someone could teleport out of and just be like, I'm on the staircase now.
For sure, yes.
Great.
100%. That would put you what you would guess on the top of the roof of that eastern third that is building. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Great.
And give me some perception checks. Let me know if anybody gets anything interesting.
Dabwick got a 28.
Oh, nice, Dabs. All right.
I got a 19.
Okay, so in addition to what has been described, Dabwick's keen eyes pick out... Okay, so we see sign of 2 guards in armor, full helmets, patrolling the outside of the second floor. Dabwick's eyes pick out through some of the arrow slits in several of the towers are on the second floor level. Dabwick occasionally sees little flashes of movement or motion as though 3 of the towers probably have sentries also looking out the arrow slits. So it looks as though there are probably stationary sentries on the second floor with a view out to the more common approaches to the building, and then these mobile sentries, 2 of them that you can see right now on the second floor there.
What do we think?
I still think if we want to get in, we go back to the Standing Stone and drain it.
Yeah, and Dora would also understand that, by draining any one of the stones, that limits the range of possible potential teleportation, because that's one point from which long-range teleportation cannot be centered off of. So if you kill one stone, like you drain the charges, they can't use it to teleport or message from as well.
The faint glow at the other one, does that indicate fewer charges?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
You want to pick a spot?
I think based on what we were able to see, like the idea that we pop out on the tower, on the stairs.
Invisible?
Invisible. And then if we make a plan, does anybody have anything that could be used to clean the wall so that it's not as obvious immediately that we were there? Because it's going to show up with a chalk drawing.
Oh, the size of these drawings?
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. Not going to happen. And the rain still hasn't even fully scrubbed a whole storm overnight.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you've got some chemicals.
Well, I mean,
it's a lot of work.
I guess that's a question. Like,
They're
are
big.
there obvious ones like that are visible to us? Or are we able to see any place where someone has already teleported into?
No.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Bit of a drawback on teleporting from the Standing Stone.
So they know. Well, I mean, it's still better than eating a bunch of arrows on the way trying to get in.
I completely agree. But they'll totally know Someone is
Somebody's there.
You can
And
also
we
swim
will
through the
have-
secret underwater tunnel.
You keep
That we have-
pushing the
that we have to
sewer
find.
tunnel.
Only, I just think it's fun that Dora had that mental image, right? She used detect thoughts. I'm like, well, there's almost no way any party would ever know that ever even exists, except like, oh.
Is it worth investigating?
Do you have a way of swimming underwater while holding your breath? Like,
Do we know that that's what it is?
multiple.
Oh, it's entirely underwater.
Entirely underwater. Well, fuck that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm concerned that if we teleport in, leave a big mural on the wall, have limited invisibility, that we need to know where we're going at that point. But we don't know what the inside of the fort looks like.
Are you suggesting that I teleport in and invisibly and then make my way out?
I don't like the sound of that.
Hate that.
I think we are suggesting that.
I love this.
Because I could also do the thing of like doing that and then be like, go, telling you go to follow.
Yeah. It's 8 charges to teleport, right? 2 each. We're not all going at once.
Correct.
And then it would be
1, 2, 3.
And it would always be in successive rounds as well.
Right.
The stone itself can only do one of those things
so
once
we're talking
per round.
about 4 murals, not
No, it just gets
1
bigger.
mural.
Yeah, it probably would just reinforce the one mural. If you're going to like exactly, if you like, okay, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
You would guess it would be 1 mural. Just very thick chalk.
I mean, I still think it's
I'm seeing a thing on the map that I think might be of interest to you based on this one of these concerns here. So if you picture the Donjon Tower, the south side of that tower on the 2nd floor is where you see the stairs going up from the roof of the 1st floor to the 2nd floor, or to the top of this tower. Around the north side of it, there is a 5-foot walkway, so the battlements continue around the outside. So there is that like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever foot stretch where there is just tall tower wall with battlement around it facing away from the inside of the keep. So as you bring up this like, holy shit, there's going to be a big mural visible, like there is one chunk that is as far out of the way as you can imagine in this circumstance. It can still be seen from the battlements, but unless someone would have to walk out onto the battlements around it.
which is not where these guys are currently patrolling.
They are not currently patrolling outside there.
Well, then that's where we're going to go.
And how do we get in from there?
You would have to walk around the corner, and then presumably there are access to the doors and stairs there.
I mean,
Okay.
that seems great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's do it.
And then there'll be something to hit.
Let's do it. Oh,
I can't wait to find out how many and which parties, like if this is a way that, because that is not an easy, like that DC 25 Arcana check. Like I don't know if parties typically figure out how to use the stones or not. This is not how the adventure assumes the party enters the game. So this is fun.
Interesting.
This is fun.
Will they all get water breathing spells?
Maybe so. But again, I don't think people know about that either.
they'll go buddy-buddy with the scum and go, let's go swim.
Just go bang on the knockers.
Or they let themselves get captured?
So the plan is you go back over to Gladiolus Hill. Dora will message you all up. Gull casts invisibility on everybody and then steps through himself first.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see. That seems like the absolute best possible thing. And I will not have my alchemical torch out since that makes so much noise.
Yeah, and we know that noise draws the projection.
Yeah. Yep. Great. So we gather up at the top of Gladiolus Hill around the sacrificial stone, message ourselves up, invisible ourselves up.
Amazing.
Roni puts on an unholy symbol of Haster, extends a hand and touches it, steps into the stone. And that's the end of chapter 52. We'll pick up the infiltration of the keep next time.
Good one.
Amazing. Amazing.
Okay, let the meat grinder begin. Dark Nexus is a creation of Plug and Hum Productions. This podcast uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Incorporated, which are used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. This podcast is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo Inc. For more information about Paizo's community use policy, please visit paizo.com/communityuse. And for more information about Paizo and Paizo products, please visit paizo.com. That's PAIZO.com. Dark Nexus uses music and soundscapes by Sirenscape. Check them out at sirenscape.com. That's SYRINSCAPE.com. Opening and closing themes, along with additional music, composed by Rob Kauzlaric. Artwork for Dark Nexus is by Matt Wahlquist. Special thanks to Toy, without whose generosity this project would not have been possible. And thanks to DMCP, Richard and Ari, Paul and Shannon, Chris, Scotty, Jason, Jess, Joe, Chelsea, Matt, Dave, Darren, and everyone we've gamed with over the years for all the memories and inspiration.
WTPK.
Oh,
Brilliant. Love it.
Tag,
That was
season
good.
2 tag.